I'm not a celebrity. I'm just an ordinary guy, a law student, a South African, and a follower of Christ, standing firm for the truth in a world that's slowly losing it. This is True Talk, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today we have a very special guest. He needs no introduction. Premier Winde, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm a young podcaster, not many subscribers, but thank you for taking out the time to chat to me today.
It's a pleasure. Oh, good luck.
Thank you. So tell us more about yourself. You were first a business owner, if I'm not mistaken, and then you moved into politics.
Yep.
That surely helped you in politics.
Yeah, it has. So, I started off as an entrepreneur. In actual fact, from when I was still at school, I think I learned from my parents who were both entrepreneurs. And so I started businesses from when I was 12 years old. Oh. But formal businesses, 10 companies that were registered and paid tax and employed people. And all different companies, most of them based out of Knysna. And because that's where I matriculated and went back to and grew the businesses there. And in various sectors, from a travel agency to a courier company to boat covers and tarpaulins to resin molding to plastic injection molding to all sorts of different kinds of businesses. I don't know, I think entrepreneurs are opportunists, so they see an opportunity and they find a service to or a solution to that problem. That's the opportunity, and that's how you start a business.
Oh, that's great. And that's surely helped you in politics because you can manage affairs.
That's the mindset. So, there's a problem, and then you say, okay, well, how are we going to fix this problem? And you treat it exactly the same way.
Yeah. So what's the one thing about being Premier that still stands out for you?
Often I've got to pinch myself to say, is this actually really what I'm doing? I've been doing it for 6 years now. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It really is. It's kind of one of those things that you have to kind of stop every now and again and say, is this actually really what I'm doing? And then, of course, on the other side of the coin, it's about saying, so we've got so many big issues that face us. I'm so proud of this province. I'm proud of what we achieve in this province. We continually push boundaries, make sure that we get the governance right. That's always the foundation of any government or any business. If you've got a business, you have to make sure that your foundation of that business is right. The same thing in a government. The foundation, that's about how you spend your money, how your money comes in, how you budget and apportion your money to your goals, your vision, what you want to achieve, in our case, what the Constitution tells you you need to do, and then perhaps in some cases, perhaps beyond what the Constitution tells you need to do, because it's issues that face your customers, which is our society. And then you've got to make those decisions, and then you've got to push through and make sure that you divide that down into bite-sized projects and go ahead and do it. And, we constantly are getting the audit outcomes that we need, showing that we've got the governance right. Mm-hmm. And then, we started focusing on that before I was the Premier. That was in the previous dispensation, under the previous Premier, which was Helen Zille. We said governance is what we focus on. So the ultimate measurement is obviously getting unqualified audit opinions, spending your money in the right place, and spending all of your money on what you've said you're going to spend it on. So when I came in, I said, right, so we're getting that right, so good governance must become a habit. Now it's about service delivery based on that good governance. And now you can start taking it to the next level. And that's what I'm proud of, because, there's no other province that can beat us in the indicators. And so we almost measure ourselves not against other provinces in South Africa, we're going to measure ourselves on the African continent and against peers in other parts of the world. So we've got very clear partnerships with other provinces in other countries. We've got a strong partnership with the Bavarian province in Germany. Now, they are seen as the top performing province in Germany, and so that's a great peer partner. Shandong in China. We've got Upper Austria in Austria. We've got...
so you meet up with them?
Yep. Wow. Regularly. In actual fact, this year we've got what we call regional leaders. So we meet every second year with all the governors or the premiers. And this year it's taking place here in Cape Town. So
that's very cool.
All those governors are coming here, and then we attach to that an investment conference, so that it also links us not only on how we learn from each other, but the economy amongst each other, the business opportunities and investment opportunities. So out of Shandong, it's the Hisense investment that took place. There's a key one. Or out of Germany and Bavaria, it's the crime intelligence and programs that we learn from them, or what we call the Duale Ausbildung. That's the getting apprentices back in systems, because in South Africa we did away with that apprentice system, and that really doesn't work. You need businesses and education and young people coming together, so you actually learn on the job. That's an apprentice system. And I'm very proud that this province played a prominent role in actually getting that back into our system in South Africa.
Oh, of course.
Because of those partnerships.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Western Cape does stand out. So what is the ANC doing wrong? What, besides corruption and everything we see? Are they doing something right?
Can I say that's the problem? And I think it doesn't matter which government it is, you've always got to say to yourself, I mean, even in our own government, so, you know, obviously what do you do well, but what are you failing at? And I mean, what drives you is vision and policy. And quite frankly, I think that's the problem with the ANC, is that there are policies that don't work, but we keep driving them over and over again. We keep those same policies in place. Let's use black economic empowerment. That was a redress policy, because we come from an apartheid history where we've got this, you know, divided system, haves and have-nots, live here and live there, this total division. So now there's a policy that says this is how we reverse it. It's called BEE, or now broad-based BEE. Broad-based. Well, it was not broad-based at all.
Never.
And 30 years later, or 31 years later, it is not working. Change it. So that's obviously, those are the things that governments, you know, and it's hard, because you have a vision, you put a policy in place, you put your program and your plan in place. That's your program. It's hard to say, stop doing it because it's not working.
Yeah.
But that's what they've got to do. They've got to decide what doesn't work. And as you said, our big problem is corruption and crime, and linked right to the top. We have Zondo commissions, and then there's nothing.
Yeah, no
we
accountability.
have commissioner after commission, no accountability. But we know what the problem is. Well, of course we know what the problem is. And we've got to cut that thing off. And we've got to cut it out. It's a cancer. But that's the problem. So that's what they're doing wrong. They've got to change that.
Why are these guys not prosecuted, though? I mean,
well, that's all linked through to the same problem. You know, and there's supposed to be this separation. You know, we proudly say we've got the most amazing constitution, and then within that constitution, you've got you know, government and its role. You've got the judiciary and its role, the criminal justice system, and there's a separation. But the problem is, and I think during the Zuma years it got even worse, where you find this intertwined linkage. That's the problem. There must be no fear or favor. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's the tough part about governing, is you've got to understand where those weaknesses are, and you've got to fix them. And that hasn't been done.
Definitely. And clearly the Western Cape stands out. But there are still areas in the Western Cape where work obviously needs to be done. There's such a contrast when you drive in the city of Cape Town and you go to Khayelitsha. There's a massive difference. A lot of people criticize the DA and say they only govern the white suburban areas. What do you say to those people? How do you react to that?
Well, the most important thing is to look at where government spends its money. It's a budget overlay. You can go onto our website and you can see where our money gets spent. I mean, we don't build schools in white leafy suburbs. We don't build hospitals in white leafy suburbs. We build hospitals in Khayelitsha. We build hospitals in Mitchell's Plain. Yeah. That's where we invest our money. We build schools. Go and have a look at our rapid school build. And interesting, I was just looking at the data on the rapid school build. So we are now building more schools than KZN and more schools than Gauteng. Both of those provinces are much bigger than us. They have much bigger budgets than us. We build more schools than both of those provinces.
Very impressive.
That's the rapid school build. But have a look at where we're building those schools. Obviously, we're building the schools where the demand is. Where the demand is where people live. And of course, as you say, the places like Mitchell's Plain, that's where people live. That's where we need to build more and more schools. We need to create more and more opportunities. But that's also where we've got to zoom in on say, an area that is not our mandate, which is crime. Crime is a massive issue. So when you're in government, you say, so what can we do? What do we have to do? And what should we do? So what we have to do is the Constitution. We have to do education. We have to do health. That's what the Constitution says. That's where most of our budget lies. But crime. We have in the Constitution an oversight role in crime. An oversight role. So we're only supposed to go like, well, we produce a report called the Policing Needs and Priorities. So we can tell you about every single one of the 151 police stations, what the paint quality is like on the walls, what do the cells look like, what are the shortfalls, their vehicles, how many are on blocks. We can tell you all of those things. How many police officers? So our police to population ratio, we should probably have about 27,000 officers, men and women. We've got 16,000. We're 10,000 too few. So we do that report. That's our oversight role. But I believe that we can't have the crime levels that we've got and not overstep the mark. Now, we haven't been taken to court by the national government, because the problem is they can't take us to court because they are failing. So we've stepped in. We've found loopholes. We put LEAP officers on the ground. They are zoomed into the murder hotspots so that we can show that using data, using technology, evidence, and deployment with boots on the ground, you can start to change the policing numbers. You can remove firearms from the streets. You can arrest people. Although when we arrest someone with a LEAP officer, the law doesn't allow us to then put them into the criminal justice system, so we then hand them over to the police. But 27,000 arrests by our LEAP officers. We've only got 1,200 LEAP officers, only deployed to the hotspots. But that is to prove that we can show you that we could make a difference with 1,300. Imagine if we controlled the 16,000, or in actual fact what we should have, the 26,000 officers deployed properly resourced, vehicles that run on time, the technology, the shot spotter, deploying based on evidence and data, bringing in AI into your policing. That's what we should be doing. Yeah. And of course, from a national government point of view, we're not. That's why we call for devolution of power. And then how do we link it to what we do, what we can do? So that is violence prevention. So for example, we've just launched in the violence prevention space a project called Planet Youth. We have done a survey now amongst 13 to 14-year-olds in our school system, 50,000 young people in the survey, 129 schools I think we've gone through, identifying what do young people need. We launched this in the last month in Mitchell's Plain, and it is about how do we deal with gangsterism, with drug abuse, with teenage pregnancies, with all of these things, which all have a consequence in crime down the line if you don't deal with them at that stage. Or perhaps another project which is called Kulisa Care, which is even more impactful, I think, and that is stunting or malnutrition. Now in South Africa, a very scary data point is that 45% of households in our country experience food poverty in the month. In other words, there's some time in the month where you have not got the money to feed your family. Now that's hectic. That's almost half the population. Then if you take a data point within that number, is if you look at 2-year-olds, it's about 20-odd%, even a bit higher, 22%. Of below 2-year-olds are stunted. In other words, they have had too little nutrition in those formation months of their life, and they are underweight and undernourished. At 5 years old, it's like 17%. Now, that is a big issue because we know the first 1,000 days are critical. In other words, that's the first 1,000 days of a child's life. If they don't get the nourishment, if they are stunted, if they are underweight, if they don't have the brain development at that stage, they are going to fall behind at school. If they fall behind at school, they then become susceptible to whatever those negatives are: drug abuse, crime, gangsterism, whatever. So you've got to address it at that stage.
Wow.
And so we've got a pilot project running now where just short of 600 Rand voucher goes to the moms that our health system picks up, have got an underweight child before birth or an underweight child at birth. You can buy about 6 or 7 items that are protein rich as part of that voucher. Every single month you get it, and until we get your child to where the proper norm should be, and then you're setting up that child to have a proper future. Those are kind of interventions that we can do as a province, and we do that in partnership with business. We do that within our budget framework, or there might be a project that comes out of a study that we've done that says this is a big risk, and now what do you do about that risk?
So it's a myth if people say the DA is not helping the lesser privileged communities.
Absolutely.
That's a myth.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's a scapegoat for them? Something they use as an excuse to just discredit the DA, or?
Yeah, but I mean, you see, obviously, if you say, I mean, let's go and have a look at Bishop's Court and Bontehill. I mean, the one's leafy with mansions worth millions, and the other one's just normal working class people.
Yeah.
And you go like, well, this is where the DA, and this is where the DA doesn't care. Well, that's rubbish. In actual fact, we don't invest at all in the Bishop's Court. We invest in the places where people need it, because that's what government does. The investment that we would put there might be, from a province's point of view, will actually be hardly anything, because we don't build hospitals there or schools there. From a local government level, they will obviously fix potholes, but basically that's the cash cow. They will charge rates and taxes, which they will then put back into water supply and roads, but they'll take a big percentage of that to invest into the new roads, the new, or repair in other places that people don't have the rates base in which to pay. Or for us as a province, we don't have a tax base. We get our money through the division of revenue. It comes from the taxes that everyone pays. It gets divided at national treasury level and then goes to provinces. But we are always fighting about that, because we have the fastest growing province in South Africa. More people coming here for jobs, more people coming here for healthcare, more people coming here for education than any other province. And that's why we've got this fast growing population. We're the 3rd biggest population in our country by province, but we get the 5th most money. So we're not getting our fair share. So it's a big fight at treasury level. We will keep fighting for more money so that we can actually spend it in places that we need to spend it. That's where we build our clinics. That's where our nurses are. That's where we build our schools. That's where our teachers are.
The Western Cape is underfunded.
Always.
Yes, very unfair.
Yeah.
And it's working. Things are working here, and that's so evident. Tell us more about this growth for jobs thing that's happening. I read something about it. What exactly is that?
Okay, so in actual fact, if you had to say to me what is my passion, it is always about the economy. Of course, as a premier, you've got to think about everything else. Before this, I was generally spent my time as a minister. So I had 10 years as a minister in this government in the economic space. So it's about jobs and the economy, and there I'm very proud. We've got over 80% employment rate in our province, by far the best employment rate in South Africa, the best job absorption rate in South Africa. People want to open businesses in this province. Why? Because you've got the governance right. That's the foundation. And so, yeah, it's about the jobs, it's about the growth. Now, if you really want to make a difference in someone's life, they need a job. When half your population sits without jobs, they can't look after themselves. They've got to rely on a grant. And a grant, let's face it, is not enough.
No, it's not.
If you look at what I just said about the food poverty, a family cannot live on a grant. It's not enough money. It's a plaster. It's a kind of emergency save me. But it should be, how do I use this to get to the next level? The next level is a job. And of course, we've all got to make sure that we're playing that role in our families, using the education opportunities that are made available by government, using the healthcare opportunities so that you're healthy, that you're educated, and that you can get the job. But to get a job, you need a growing economy. South Africa's economy has been shrinking because of bad policies, bad decisions, and bad government, and corruption, and all of those other things. Grey listing, you name it, all those which we spoke about earlier, the ANC failures. Why is it different in the Western Cape? Because government matters. It does matter. Your vote matters. It counts. Because when your vote delivers good governance and that platform, businesses want to invest. And when businesses invest, there's growth. Then our job is, and that's our Apex project, how do we get the growth? So growth comes from investment. And then how do we create the ecosystem that enables our citizens to get the jobs that that growth offers? That brings opportunity. And so that's growth for jobs. And then there are areas of focus in growth for jobs. I personally take responsibility for energy and water. Of course, energy and water are two different components that are complex in themselves. So energy, always in the past delivered by Eskom at a national level, failed. So now we have a program in the Western Cape. It's been running 2.5 years now, 5,700 megawatt plan. We have a usage of about 4,000 megawatts at peak. So we're having more power than we use, which means investing for the future. If we invest for the future in energy, businesses want to come along. Yeah. And we're well on track to deliver our energy plan. Now the next big risk that we've got, if we don't get water right, we're going to be back in 2017 with day zero. We've got fast growing populations. We're not building more dams. Dams are national competency, like Eskom is a national competency. What are we going to do about that? How do we make sure that municipalities are investing in sewage systems? We know that a fast growing province then has issues because you're putting pressure on your resources, water, sewerage, infrastructure. South Africa has not been keeping pace with infrastructure investment. So we focus on infrastructure. I'm super proud of the road infrastructure of the Western Cape.
It's brilliant.
Go to any other province, it is a mess. Yeah. We focus on road infrastructure. We focus on infrastructure investment, both private sector and public sector, enabling both of them. But without government infrastructure investment, whether it be in water, whether it be in electricity, whether it be in roads, whether it be in human settlements, whatever those infrastructure investments are, whether they be dams, how do we coordinate? It might not be our responsibility, the private sector definitely, but we enable it. Yeah. So there's a big focus on infrastructure. Then, of course, skills. Skills links back to education. Is the education system right? Are the universities delivering the right skills? So we have a skills platform. It's called the Premier's Council on Skills. We bring our universities, our colleges, businesses, understanding what's short. How do we get programs both within our universities, within our colleges, other programs that we run that enable us to skill a workforce that's aligned to the growth that's coming or the investment that's coming. So it's a challenge, but it's getting that growth right. So that's the skills component. And we have a lever, which is education. Yeah. Innovation is another part of the drivers within growth for jobs. Are we enabling the tech ecosystem? We've become known as the Silicon Cape of Africa. This is where tech entrepreneurs develop apps, and this is then on top of that, because we've got the ecosystem and our universities, then what happens is the Amazons come and invest. We have those companies that are developed here, but also outside companies that invest. When you have investment, what happens? You create jobs. And so that's the growth for jobs plan is saying, what do we need to do? Let's break it down into certain projects. We then zoom in and we make sure that we try and land those projects so that we create more investment, so that we keep on dropping our unemployment rate or growing our employment rate.
It's very good to hear that these things are happening in the Western Cape. And I think for future voters, they might look at this and think, I might vote DA again. We've seen the Patriotic Alliance rise in the Western Cape, especially amongst coloured voters. Why do you think so many of them are going that way? And do you think Gator McKenzie is capable of running South Africa?
So obviously what's happening in the world politic, you can see it in the US, you can see it in Europe, you see it around the world that there's a shift. There's a move to the right. Yeah. There's a move to nationalism, boundaries, borders. Quite frankly, I'm very scared of that. The world went through this, and then we had a big world war, and then we had a second world war, and then we kind of as a planet went, hang on a second, this is the wrong thing to do. We need to bring people out of poverty. We need to have United Nations. We need to think about how we end wars and how we break down this nationalism and boundaries and you them and us. And that's the problem at the moment. So you're seeing that globally, but you're seeing it locally as well. So you're seeing it in this coloured nationalism that's growing around Gayton or whoever those populist, and populism is what the word is, those populist leaders. You saw it under Julius and the EFF. It's about populism, right?
Trump.
These are scary things in politics. But of course, that's what's happening, and that's just how the politic goes. But the question is, you've always got to measure it. So let's have a look at the Patriotic Alliance. So what has the Patriotic Alliance done in the Western Cape? So they have been in control before. Gayton Mackenzie himself was a mayor in the municipality in the Karoo.
Beaufort West.
Beaufort West was a Patriotic Alliance coalition town. But not for long. And the voters said, hang on a second, this populism and this promises and all this kind of rah-rah doesn't deliver in identifying what are the biggest problems in your town, how do we create a foundation of good governance, how do we get rid of corruption and actually make a difference for the citizen. So what did the people there do? They voted them out. The same thing right now. We've got a massive issue in a town like Knysna. The Patriotic Alliance has been part of that coalition. Patriotic Alliance, the EFF, the ANC, and another independent organization, and they've been running that town. What's happening now? The sewerage levels in the lagoon are
It's a mess.
unbelievable. The refuse delivery system, the sewerage, the water system, bodies in the water, and they don't do anything about it. It's horrendous. So, yeah, it's all very well voting for a party, but the party needs to show that they can govern. That's where I believe that my job is to say, thank you for your vote. Let's show you that we can govern. We'll govern to the best of our ability. And obviously, as a premier, I've got to make sure that I appoint ministers, we hold them to account, they've got their visions, we've got an overall vision, and we deliver on it. And that's what voters have got to measure at the end of the day. And I don't think that he's zooming in there, or even in some of the other towns that they've been involved in coalitions. Go and have a look at the track record. The track record is atrocious.
Do you think he's going to last the Patriotic?
See, the problem is that parties have got to be more than a person. And so, if Julius is not at the EFF, will the EFF still be there? I don't think so. If Gayton is not part of the Patriotic Alliance, he gets fired. Then what? Is the party able to continue? And that's the big test for any political party, is that you can actually have congresses, leadership changes, and base all of that on manifestos and policies, and reinvent your policies. Make sure that you have policy conferences. Make sure that you talk about those policies that have worked and those that haven't worked, even more importantly. And how do you innovate and change? Because the world is changing super fast. If I just think about AI and the influence that AI is having on government. Now, you can't say, well, we'll think about putting it into our policy, or you've got to be way ahead of that. I'm very proud to say that in our government right now, I have ministers and heads of department that are busy studying at university at the moment on a specially designed course for our government, studying artificial intelligence.
That's very good.
So that we can get to at least understand what's coming at us, and also be part of enabling AI in delivering better services to our clients. AI is also a big risk just for the economy.
Massive.
How many jobs are going to be lost because of AI? And are we enabling the skills into the future so that we're developing those skills and the economies that are going to be part of the AI new world? And what are they? And of course, we don't know, but we've got to make choices and decisions. I believe that, and what you read, is that a lot of the mundane jobs, and we say a mundane job, even the legal profession is under pressure.
White collar.
Because an AI tool can probably get a better legal opinion in a much quicker time.
I study law, so I know that.
Well, there we go. And even in medical. So of course, that person-to-person contact from a nurse is really critical. I don't see that being taken away by AI very, very soon. But when a doctor does not embrace AI and use AI, that doctor will then fall away. So it also says AI has got to be part of your toolbox going forward. If it's not, you will be obsolete. You can have, I'll talk about a real case. Breast cancer, do the cellular breakdown from the sample of that tumor, put it into an AI tool. The AI tool says this specific cell makeup on that cancerous tumor, the following 7.8 million different diagnoses that have similar cellular makeup have used the following regimes, and these 3 have been the most successful. If you make a cocktail of those 3, you'll probably have the best success.
Wow.
Now, no doctor can read up on all of those cases and then make a choice, but AI can help the doctor make the choice.
Start working with it, not against it.
Exactly. And so we have to do exactly the same in government. And how does AI help us in education, in delivering better services, and I always say to our team, when the person phones us because they have a problem, we should be able to answer the phone, welcome them by name, because already AI is already sifting that through, and probably saying, sir, I know that the drain's blocked at the end of your road. We actually have a team there already. But wow. AI is probably even more than that, to say, I apologize, next week your road will be closed because next week there will be a sinkhole and we're already ahead of the curve, and we will be planning in accordance with or the pothole that is going to form next week because it'll follow the rain of this week.
Wow.
That's what AI does for you.
It's very exciting.
So are you embracing it?
Definitely. If you could be president and you have a time cap of 100 days, what would you do to fix South Africa? You'll probably need more, but 100 days.
So I think I would probably zoom in on crime and corruption as the first thing that I would do. Immediately, and in actual fact, in day one, I would change the deployment of police officers. Because I've been calling this for I don't know how long. So go and have a look at how many police officers per population ratio in our police stations. You will find that the highest crime rate police stations and the highest crime rate areas have fewer police officers per population ratio than lower crime rates. Now, of course, that's a human trait and a natural thing. If I was a police officer, where would you rather be serving? In the middle of gangland where there's shooting every single day, or in a leafy suburb or out in some country police station? Of course, you'd rather be in those safer spaces. But you've chosen to be a police officer. I would deploy you and change that deployment in the first day, reassign and move the majority of our police officers into areas that are the most crime-ridden. And what I would do then is make sure that we've got the data systems and the tech and even just the basics to back up those police officers. Because it doesn't help putting a police officer in a police station where the phone doesn't work, where they don't have a radio, or the vehicle's tires are flat or unserviced. You need to back that up. So that would be the second thing. And then there would be this massive blitz on making sure that our criminal justice system gets supported so that we arrest the criminals out there and we try them and we find those guilty ones and we lock them up. That would be my biggest focus.
Would you ever run for president?
Not at the moment.
Future plans, maybe?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm, look at my hair, it's quite grey. I think too many politicians in our country carry on until they're way too old.
ANC?
First of all. And second of all, I also believe in enabling younger people. So I'm super proud of the cabinet in our government. I mean, I look at our Minister of Finance, who we've just put in, Advocate Bartman. She is the youngest MEC in South Africa. She's the youngest MEC of Finance. She's young, she's in there. I look at youth in our system. I look at our speaker. I look at bringing in younger people. Because also the amazing thing is when you bring in younger people and you give them the opportunity, it's so nice to see them fly, because they do embrace new technology far quicker and easier. I think they also, you've got to have a mix. You need to speak to your clientele. You need to speak to the residents of your responsibility. So in our case, it's the province. So of course, some residents are like me, but a lot of residents in our region are young. So I think that helps when you have younger ministers coming in. I think they speak the same language. They understand the pressures that younger people face, the fears is this a place that I want to bring up my children? And I think that definitely helps. So we also need to make way for those younger people as well.
And it's cool seeing all the youngsters come through in politics now.
Yeah, I love it.
It's amazing. It's a pity Liam Jacobs left to the PA.
I think that's you never know. You might come back.
That'll be funny.
That's always the hardest thing, though, for politicians. And there are a couple of politicians that leave, and then they come back and knock on the door again. And then it's hard to come back because, those very people that you badmouthed on the way out. So my advice always is to politicians is, number one, don't try and peak too early. I think a lot of people want to be the premier in their 20s.
Sure.
It's hard. And you also, you develop, I learn every single day. So you develop your EQ as you grow older. You learn lessons every single day on how to manage people, how to be empathetic, how to listen, how to lead. All of these things you learn over time. And so sometimes when you try and do that too quickly, I think sometimes you stumble as well. I never want to hold anybody back, but try and pace yourself. That would be a good bit of advice for young political leaders. And then maybe not only political leaders, everybody. We seem to have lost a value sense in society. I mean, our crime levels are at the level they are because of a lack of values. We need to embrace values, and you need to embrace values in everything you do. And so as a politician, if you base your decisions on a set of values, that would help you in making a decision on to leave a party or to join a party or to do your job every single day. If you base it on a set of values, well, imagine how much we could fix if they were all positive and good values. They were all values that would be planet positive, that would help us as a region, as a continent, and as a world. That I think, should be the core essence. If you want to get into politics, just first of all make sure you're anchored in a bit of value.
Well, I think a lot of young people will appreciate it, especially our listeners. We are very proud of the fact that we're a Christian community and we stand up for Christ, and we believe that if you have in your life, great things can happen. And I know it's helped me so much, and it's really helped people around me. And I'm very excited for the future generation to come through, especially our Christian community. We're going to make a big impact in Cape Town, and a positive one. We're here to stay and make a difference.
Absolutely.
So getting to the last bit
and that basis is about, they always say, it's how you behave when no one is watching.
Wow, integrity, eh?
But, if you're religious, if you're a Christian, someone's always watching.
Always.
So that's what you've got to anchor it into. That's that
definitely.
value base. That's integrity.
And I mean, most people are not Christian because of other Christians. So I definitely understand that one. So if you weren't in politics, what would you do? Businessman?
Yeah, I'd obviously still do business. I mean, when politics is over, you can never do nothing. You've got to always be involved. Obviously, I'm a people person. Even before politics, even while I was in business, I was a volunteer at NSRI. I was a member of Roundtable. I was always involved in community issues and raising money for those in need, or volunteering in some way or other. So I definitely, obviously, will carry on in that way. I'm a community and people-orientated person. Obviously, when you finished with politics and you move into the next phase of your life, I think with the knowledge that I've built up, both in politics and in business, I'm sure I'll have value to add, people to advise, people to help and support. Obviously, when you retire, you don't necessarily need to go and earn a living, as long as you're clever in putting enough money away. And that's another big issue that I think so many South Africans face, is that we don't invest enough in our retirement, and then we become burdens. And that is also very hard, because you've got to be able to have some money to invest.
Definitely.
You've got to build up a nest egg. And the younger you start, the better. And so I was always at an advantage, is my businesses were started, in my 20s. And, also very lucky. None of those businesses failed, because it failed businesses are also hard because you have to pay back what you've lost in the bankruptcies or whatever. But if you can start at a young age, just putting a little bit away all the time, you can actually look after yourself into the future, and that's quite important. And then, if you're secure, then it's great to be able to volunteer your time at a local business to say, can I be the grey-haired advice that you maybe need, and I don't need a salary. Then you really are adding difference.
So you're not going to stop. You're here to stay.
No, definitely not.
So why should a young Christian conservative guy vote for the DA? I mean, there's so many other parties, Vryheidsfront, PA even, that advocate for Christianity, ACDP. Why DA?
So I think the most important thing is we've got the best track record out of any political party in South Africa.
That's a fact.
There it is.
Thank you. Premier, I really thank you for your time today. Just to end off, we'll ask you a few wildcard questions. So if you could meet one person, who would it be, dead or alive?
Wow. I think up until a little while ago, it probably would have been Elon, but now I don't know so much anymore. So definitely I would say then Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Wow.
I mean, I always like reading biographies of, Elon Musk's biography was a great read. Steve Jobs's was a great read. I mean, I also read the books of many global leaders, politicians. Those of you who are in my cabinet will know that if you go to a Bosberaad, I will reference a book.
Sure.
I will reference the lesson out of that specific book. It was an honor and a privilege. So that I had not met Steve Jobs. I've met also so many global leaders, and it's an honor.
Who's the most influential person you've met?
So I think Angela Merkel was
that's big.
a great discussion and a great meet. I think
is she a cool person?
Listen, the most interesting thing is you always look at these people who hold these high-powered jobs, and you think, wow. But they're just people.
They're just people.
I mean, in the last while, I've had the opportunity to host at Leeuwenhof. I've hosted the Deputy President of Germany, the President of Austria, the King and Queen of Orange, the King and Queen of Belgium, of the Belgians. These are, that's just at Leeuwenhof that we've hosted. They're people.
Yeah.
And they've got kids, and their kids have got problems and dreams, and they've got dreams, and they've got things to do, and it's quite amazing. And so the same thing is to whether you're walking the streets, knocking door to door, doing some political campaign, and you meet an auntie and you go and sit inside, her house, and you just chat to her. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just a person trying to live their life, issues and crises, and trying to deal with those things.
It's refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
You would have your last meal on earth, what would it be?
Now that's really difficult because it also would have been a bit different now. I'm a vegan.
Actually.
So I'm a diabetic, and I manage my diabetes through diet, and I manage it through exercise.
Sure.
So I ride a bike, and I eat healthily, and I actually think I had that meal last night. It was a fresh bag that gets supplied to us. We buy these like farm packed bags, so you don't know what you're going to get because it's whatever's in season and whatever they're picking. And so there were carrots and mushrooms and marsh too, and some pak choy and some cabbage and an onion and some ginger and some garlic and a chili. That was in this pack that I got, and I made it into stir fry. And I added a bit of soy sauce to it. Oh, that was pretty good. So probably that's what it would be.
Sure.
And I made it.
Well done. So Premier, if you could nominate one person who I should have on the podcast, who would it be?
Pastor Engel.
Pastor Engel.
He is in Hanover Park, and I met him on Saturday, and he runs a project called Ceasefire, where he works with gangsters to try and get them to cease fire.
Looking forward to our next conversation.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.